Is this thing working? Are we live? It looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. If you're new to the channel, my show pretty much surfaced about 5, maybe 6 years ago, talking about a lot of car stuff. Now I'm talking more motorcycle stuff than anything else. And on the live show, it allows me the opportunity to interact with you guys directly. I'll sometimes, if I'm working on a particular video, I'll kind of, I don't know, work through some of the details of those videos through a live show. And then other times I'll use the live show as a substitute for doing a standalone video. Sometimes the standalone videos just don't really go together well. And in this case, it gives me an opportunity to, just kind of vet through topics and things like that, or put a video out that is maybe a little bit more free form. But the main thing is I get to interact directly with you. And so for this show, what I want to do is I want to reach out to the R9 owners. I have got to hear from you guys as to, and this is for you guys that have had a chance to take delivery of your bike. For you guys, I want to know, what's it like so far? What do you think about that bike? It's one of the most hotly anticipated motorcycles since, well, for a long time on the sport bike scene. And if you haven't received yours yet, any plans for it? Are you thinking about taking your R9 to the track? Is it primarily going to be a street bike? I really want to hear those plan stories from you guys. The other guys I want to talk about, you R9 folks that put your order in, and then with all of the delays, did you cancel your order for your bike? And the main thing I want to hear about, though, from all of y'all is why? Why did you go with the R9? That's one that, that's something that I've got to know. So Ryan, you are in, I am, let me do this real quick. Let me just go ahead and answer your question real quickly. And, well, let me just go, I'm going to answer your question real quickly. Then I got to get back to the show. And it goes a little something like that. Hopefully that answers the question, and you will be the first to know. Okay, so as far as that goes, but guys, seriously, I'm curious as to the why behind what is it that drove you to that motorcycle. And I'm not asking to try to troll you. I'm really not. I'm asking because I really want to know. So let's take a look at one aspect of the R9 that, for you guys that are catching up or falling into the show, if you're not familiar with the R9 from Yamaha is a motorcycle that is it's considered a super sport motorcycle, but for a lot of folks, they don't really consider it a super anything. It's basically a really good sport bike, but it doesn't have any true racing heritage except for its recent success in the Super Sport series, which is in essence the equivalent of road racing as a bracket race with a lot of limitations per bike, if you will, for motorcycles of a specific displacement range. And I can tell you that that's something that for a lot of hard-nosed sport bike purists is a bit of a problem. So here's what I want to, let's go ahead and talk about this bike real quick, because I think that I'll put it to you like this. I don't want to do this motorcycle a disservice. Again, I really want to give this bike the respect that it deserves. So one thing I want to show, yes, this is an amazing looking motorcycle. It's very modern looking. It's very edgy. There are some nitpicks. I could absolutely just begin to dissect this bike from an aesthetic, but that is a subjective criteria, right? So just taking that out of the equation, one thing I want to bring to y'all's attention, the first page, when you pull up the Yamaha R9 on Yamaha's website, I want to illustrate one thing for you guys. 55.9 inch wheelbase. That is a significant number. And the reason why that is significant is because that is identical to the GSXR 1000. That, my friends, is a leader class bike wheelbase. And it should, I mean, it's a motorcycle that's got close 900, just go ahead and call it CCs. But the power output, the torque output, well, it's not, in my opinion, really high enough to warrant that level of wheelbase. That's going to make it a little bit slower to tip in and transition. Although, again, I understand that in a racing form, this motorcycle tends to do, well, it is doing rather well. Again, that's in a handicap league. This is in a world where the V2 Panigale is neutered. The GSXR 750 is heavily neutered in that class. And so a motorcycle that is just so happening to fall within the guidelines, even with other modifications for that particular class, it's really good in that respect. But I'm curious for you R9 guys out there taking any racing aspirations out of this, what do you think you're going to really do with this bike? Is it going to be more of a street bike? Are you going to do some track days with it? Are you buying this bike because you're moving up from, say, a GSX 8R or an R7? Was this a more natural transition for you guys? Because here's the thing. When you look at this bike from a value proposition, it's pretty good, but it's also pretty not good. What do I mean by that? Well, the thing is that the R9 has an amazing electronic suite. It's got a great looking TFT. It's got connectivity as well. It's got a Garmin turn-by-turn navigation. I don't know who uses that, but you can log into this thing with your phone and have the phone calls, and it tunes into Cardo and all this other stuff that it does. Clearly, I'm not up on all the jargon on this, but I get it. This thing has a lot of that going for it. But with all the different rider aids and everything else that's coming with this bike, and also considering it's about an inch longer wheelbase than the GSXR 750, and even an inch and a quarter longer than the GSXR 600, I'm left a little bit curious as to why all of that technology is even needed on a motorcycle like this. Seems to me that with a good set of tires on this bike, all of that is a bit superfluous. You're never going to trigger those rider aids unless you are getting yourself into a lot of trouble. And in that case, it's typically a situation where you probably overcooked an entry speed coming into a corner, and you have now hammered on the brakes and tried to throw in way too much lean angle. And listen, rider aids are great, but they can't bend or break the laws of physics. A great set of tires and having your head on a swivel is a much better riding aid. In other words, employing a skill set and tools of the trade in a tire than any of the electronics would. And I guess I say all of that because, well, let's be honest. I mean, my background is in a little bit different kind of bike. You know, my background is in a motorcycle that is going to be significantly more basic. And again, being up in the mountains in Northern California, none of these bikes had rider aids, and nobody really seemed to have an issue with that. So when you've got a deficit in power, but a surplus of electronic aid, I feel like what ends up happening is I think the rider is going to be a little bit too babied with that bike. And here's the other thing, and I've got to be just absolutely bluntly honest. I don't think it has enough power on board to employ and to even warrant having all of those rider aids. Especially when you have other motorcycles that are out there that have never had any of those types of rider aids whatsoever. And, well, let's be honest. Are you kidding me? Seriously? this motorcycle that I'm showing you right now, just as